Thanks again for joining us this evening. Beautiful night out there, so hopefully we will move through the agenda pretty quickly. So with that, we'll call the meeting to order. Is there any declarations of conflicts?
I have a conflict on number 2, Ballard Street.
Okay, so Shallon is in conflict on number 2. Perfect. Any other conflicts? Okay, seeing none. Can I get approval of the agenda, please? So moved. Okay, moved by Bobby, second by Reg. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Adoption of the minutes from the planning board meeting on July 6th, please. Moved by Your Worship, second by Reg. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Any business arising from the minutes?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
On page 13, 35 Connolly Street, PID number 358556.
Page 13. What paragraph?
This is a request to rezone the subject property. The council turned that over, right? Correct?
Council approved.
Council approved to go to rezone or to reject the rezoning?
Council approved to approve.
The rezoning.
Yes.
I thought we...
That's the Queen Street one, 385.
No.
Oh, that's sorry. I thought.
No, 35 Conley Street is the...
Oh,
property that-
we said that we approved to go to a public meeting.
Right, but at this meeting, we said no to it, right?
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we rejected the proposal.
Correct.
So could I just ask Alex or Greg, who's in charge of the file? So Greg, we are going to a public meeting. Have we set a time for that yet?
We have a few applications that have to go to a public meeting, but there's no date set for them yet.
Usually the last week of August, Your Worship.
What's that?
It'll be last week of August. It'll be that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, somewhere in that last week, usually.
Okay.
I know in July we didn't have a public.
Correct.
No. So I'm just asking, it's only a small piece of property. So if we rezone it, do we also have to, will the property owner have to look at variances?
No, they submitted a plan that meets all the required setbacks.
Just the rezone?
Yeah.
Okay.
Should it be rezoned? Yeah.
Sure. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there any other business arising from the minutes? Okay, seeing none. We're going to move into the reports. We might shift 2 and 3 as the applicant for 3 is here, and I don't know if anyone is coming for 2. What's that?
Shallon's here for 2.
Presenting. Are you presenting, Shallon?
I can answer any questions, yeah.
Okay, so why don't we do 1, 3, 2 in order then? Yeah, we'll do that. So we'll start with number 1, the corner of Towers Road and Mount Edward Road. And Laurel's not here, so...
I will present it.
Thank you, Alex. Do you want to go up to the podium?
Sure.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is an application to amend the zoning bylaw from comprehensive to comprehensive development area in order to develop lands as a mixed-use residential neighborhood consisting of townhouses, apartment dwellings, and a commercial healthcare facility along Mount Edward Road. Section 41.2.5, comprehensive development area, requires the council approve a development concept plan for the site prior to the approval of new buildings, uses occurring on the site. The approval process must be treated if it were an amendment to the zoning bylaw and therefore requires notification of the property owners. The CDA allows council to approve any use of or mix of uses allowed in any zone of the zoning bylaw, including innovative mixed use development subject to a development agreement being signed. In addition, comprehensive development plan approval process, the applicant is also requesting to rezone a portion of PID 390559 and PID 390542 from R2S, low density, to CDA. This development concept is including a mix of buildings, one 4-story apartment building consisting of 60 affordable housing units, 2 5-story apartment buildings consisting of 88 market units, 1 5-story apartment building consisting of 78 market units, 7 townhouse buildings containing a total of 36 dwelling units, 1 commercial health care facility. Parking for the development will be surface parking. On the analysis, this is the area surrounding the Charlottetown Mall, Mount Edward Road, and so that's the property there. Doesn't the other one work? The other.
Oh, no.
Okay, so that's the property off of Towers Road. I apologize for those that have to turn around, but that's the property. And so it's across from Sherwood Greens development. In addition, there's been significant pressure in this entire area for the last 2 years for development on the tract, which runs from Mount Edward Road, from Towers Road up to the arterial highway. The subject properties, many of these development proposals received for this area propose single-lane driveways accessing Mount Edward Road. So when people come in, they were taking these long linear lots that could be 1,000 feet in length. They wanted to put like 80 units in behind these houses and have one driveway coming to Mount Edward Road. So we got quite a bit of pushback on the development by St. Dunstan's up across from Fern Garden in regard to traffic. That was ideally a location where the roadway there was aligning with Fern Garden, and that's the ideal standard. So we've been working with developers recently to get a traffic study done for this area because of the it was not going to work to allow all of these various access points to Mount Edward Road in a kind of a haphazard manner. So the city has requested a traffic master plan to look at all of this for how the road network will work in the area. In addition, to the city's master plan, the applicant has prepared a traffic report for their own project. It's indicating, it's in the report as to the level of service, but they are indicating that in 2025, the study area intersections are projected to have an increase in vehicle delays, and some may experience poor levels of service, level of service F. So the applicant's traffic report was circulated to the manager of Public Works, and his commentary was that from the Public Works standpoint, APN's project can move ahead. This is prior to our own master plan being done. We thought that there were going to be components of a road network through this property that we thought initially that the master plan may require. It seems like that is not going to be necessary, but again, Scott Adams is indicating APM's project can move ahead, conditional that the final master traffic plan being prepared for the city confirms that a north-south connector from Towers Road up through this site and continuing on up to the St. Dunstan property is not required. He's confirmed that he expects to have this traffic report in the next 4 to 6 weeks. However, he stated that the major concern is driveway access to the city's right-of-way. It's recommended that if this was approved, that the proposed site plan be modified so that there are only 2 driveways on the entire site. One located approximately midway on Towers Road between Spencer and Mount Edward, and then the other one would be on Spencer Drive, in the middle of Spencer Drive, between towers. This will help with the future traffic concerns. Any access to Mount Edward Road would not be recommended for this development. And then it goes on to say, in addition, along the northern boundary of this proposed development, the concept plan shows a corridor of land that is reserved for a future street connector to Spencer Drive, and it's imperative that this corridor of land be deeded to the city for future development to bring Spencer Drive out to Mount Edward Road at the appropriate location. So there's quite a bit of policy direction in the official plan dealing with this area of the city. There is quite a bit of discussion of what should take place around the Charlottetown Mall. It's basically indicating the need for a mix of housing typologies to support commercial services that were anticipated in the official plan to develop in this area of Sherwood. In addition, with the increase in immigration the city is currently experiencing and the city's aging population, Charlottetown is experiencing a shortage of housing, especially housing for those with special needs. This area of Charlottetown is an older established neighborhood and is located within a walkable neighborhood near amenities and services. The developer has proposed a mix of affordable units and market-priced units within this development to accommodate various incomes. This would provide 60 units of safe, affordable housing, and with the balance of them being market rents. So overall, staff feel that this does meet there's the site plan indicating how it would be laid out off of Towers and Spencer, meets a lot of the policy objectives in the official plan. Our only concern was the city's master plan that's being prepared at this time, that somehow that this development may be premature. Again, Scott Adams has been talking to the consultant. The consultant feels that there isn't a need for a north-south connector from Towers Road through the middle of the site. This report will be done in the next, hopefully, 4 weeks, and we're basically indicating that we don't see a problem in going to public hearing, and as long as the traffic report concludes that the north-south connector isn't required, and if that being the case, the road network that's been provided through here, across to the north of the property, is acceptable, and the only other proviso is that there is an access for the commercial development out to Mount Edward Road that Scott Adams would like to see closed. All in all, we're prepared to support this application to a public hearing, and I'm here to answer any questions on behalf of Laurel. If you have them, there's a concept of the townhouses.
Kate is also outside there. He has a presentation.
Okay, so again, if you have no questions for me, I can bring Kane in. Go ahead.
Yeah, bring Kane in.
I just need clarification.
Yeah.
Okay, so just
sorry,
real quick,
I'm sorry.
sorry, no, it's all good.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair. So, Alex, I just have a question. My main concern actually about this development, it looks like a lovely development. However, I confess I do travel through that Tower Road frequently.
Right.
There's usually a backup of traffic. And when I add up all the extra units that are included in this development, it's 262 new units, and you have to assume there'd be at least 2 people, 1 to 2 cars per unit.
Right.
I just can't imagine how all of that traffic is going to navigate Towers Road and Spencer Drive, in addition to the new apartment building that we approved a few months ago, that's down behind the Schuer Greens.
Right. I know that it's, again, I'm not a traffic engineer, and there have been, there's 2 traffic studies going on this property. That area is designed to handle an incredible amount of traffic, and there's an incredible amount of traffic going through there presently, as you know. But it's, even though that the numbers seem high in regard to the units that are there, the road network, the city has recently acquired Towers Road. I think that was formerly private. It's now public. We're in the process of working with this developer to get a section of in between Towers Road and Spencer. That will be a public roadway, so there'll be improvements on there. And what's intended with this traffic master plan for the city is all of those east-west connections through there out to Mount Edward Road will be logically established. They're not going to happen overnight, but when they're eventually established, what it does, it takes all of the pressure off of Towers Road, right? So people, the developer has complained to the city recently at the Charlottetown Mall that, again, people are cross-cutting. They're coming in through Towers Road, they're cutting right across the theater, and they're just beelining it back to Malpeck Road or the 2 other commercial developments. They may not even be in there. But this is the intent of this master plan, is to rationalize that all. This is the last piece of available land in Spencer, and what's the other? There's another higher one that's a commercial road that comes into St. Dunstan's. Those roads need to be finalized in regard to diffusing traffic, and we just approved the development up off of Fern Garden, which is a residential development with a roadway that comes right out to Fern Garden. But that road may be connected back in some capacity to either some future residential up in that area. One of the little bit of the challenges is the arterial highway prevents any accesses in that direction. So it's going east and west, all of those roadways, and then we need a couple of north-south connections. But on this particular property, it's felt that we initially thought we might need the north-south connection from Towers through this site onto the additional vacant land in behind, but the traffic, our traffic consultant is indicating they don't think that's the case, but our own traffic engineer, or our own traffic, not traffic, but Scott Adams, our manager of public works, is indicating if we don't need that, and it's confirmed by the traffic report, this development it's appropriate to allow this to proceed to public hearing.
Just one more point I'd like to make. All of that traffic coming from Spencer Drive funnels onto Towers Road.
Right.
So, it would seem natural to me to have a road go right out to Mount Edward Road? Because a lot of the traffic is trying to get from Route 2 over to Mount Edward Road.
And this,
And you mentioned that that's a long-term plan, but when would that happen?
that is something I can't comment upon, but the developer here is providing that northern road connection. I'll find the site plan here. Oh. So they are providing, here's Spencer Drive, you know, that's the reserve public road, which we need to have conveyed to the city. And then there's a remaining home there. That's somebody's home, and you have to be mindful of that. But invariably, the city lives a long time, or will be around. That can be negotiated, and then that gets you out to Ash. And that solves one problem. There's likely another one further up that needs to come out, ideally at Mount Edward Road. And there may need to be a north-south from this future road up, which the traffic report will highlight. But so this one has had a private traffic engineer look at it, and has validated some things. We want a few changes. Here's the drive out, the driveway to Mount Edward Road. We'd like to see that one closed, and then that this development have the roadway into the site here, and generally here, and generally here.
Okay, Julie, Councillor McCabe. you
Yeah,
have
I
a
just
question?
need clarification on, because there's a lot of information here, but when we're looking at low-density R2S to a comprehensive development area, CDA, what is this property zone for right now?
It's
What are we-
mostly, it's primarily CDA.
Okay.
But there's
Which
some-
means, just remind me. what that
Comprehensive
means.
development area, it was intended that this
Okay.
area would be left for something somewhat unique, and that council would decide that. It's up to council to decide what can happen in a comprehensive development area. And it's the mixed-use component which really highlights that's the reason you use the comprehensive development tool or zoning, and then it's followed up with a development agreement. The development agreement will be very specific to this property. So once those driveway access to the site are fixed, things like the roadway, if it's coming to the city of Charlottetown, that will all be factored into the development agreement to ensure that what gets approved by council is what is the only thing that can be there. That's the unique thing about a comprehensive development area. And you can recollect how many times developments have been back to this board on Towers Road. If you deviate even a couple of units, it's got to come back to council. So we're constantly bringing them back. So on the one hand, it's a bit of a challenge for council and the board to always provide oversight, but on the other hand, it's to ensure that what they say they're going to do is in fact the only thing that they can do based upon the approval.
Councillor Cody.
Thank you. And Rosemary brings up a good point. I was kind of wondering too about the city's traffic master plan. It'd be nice to kind of see that plan maybe before you go to a public meeting on such a large area.
Basically, sorry to interrupt,
No.
Councillor Cody. I think Scott Adams is pretty confident that, and by the time, let's say we're at the public hearing, you could maybe slow it down because of that. But we're trying to, with all development, everybody's in a rush. This development's been held back for months. They've had their traffic report for some time. We told them that we wanted our own traffic study. It's one property which is tied up with quite a few other properties in there, but they've been sort of trying to get moving forward. And then it's because Mr. Adams deals with our traffic engineer, this issue has come up, and then they've been telegraphing to him, they don't think we need the north-south, or sort of the north connecting road, and that's what's been holding us back. But before you approve it, Mr. Adams feels that you'll be able to see that master plan. Or maybe you hold it back a month and say, we want to see the master plan to ensure that the two are lining up. We're trying to do these things in tandem, parallel process.
I like that idea.
All right, Councillor Duran, before we bring in Kane to do a presentation, do you have any questions for Alex, or?
Yes, I do, Greg. Thank you.
Okay.
This is more of just a statement. It's not much of a question. This is just the request here is go to a public meeting, am I correct on that?
That's right.
Yeah, that's it, just a public meeting.
Okay, I just gonna, look, I just want people to realize that, you know, when we're looking at this 300 or so, new development for here, did we not approve like a 90 unit development up by the bypass? There's more development to come on the mall property. We just approved a number of the apartments that's going up now in Speardale Estates there, and there's more room for development there. We just approved 41 units on Pine Drive, and I know when Mr. Forbes says everyone's in a rush. Yes, I understand that. And we've also said about the development agreement. Well, the development agreement with Sheardale has changed I don't know how many times. So, you know, we're looking at another, you know, I don't know, 600, 700, 800 units in this area. You know, we certainly can't rush on a traffic study, or we can't rush on approval. You know, I'm not looking for any trouble here. I know, you know, and I'll support going to a public meeting, because we like to hear what the public says. But I'm taught time and time again that, you know, we go with staff's approval, or we go with the board's approval. We go to these public meetings, and the public voices their concerns, and then we just approve it anyway. So, you know, I have nothing more to say on that. It's just a statement that you know, this area is being congested quite heavily, and I have concerns about that. So, thanks for giving me my opportunity, and I have nothing more to say on this. Thanks, Greg.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Duran. So what we'll do, folks, is have Kane come in and do the presentation, and then we'll open the floor back up for questions at that point, if that's okay with the board.
Just before Alex leaves, Mr. Chair, Alex, and maybe Kane can help, what's the acreage of this proposed development? How many, I couldn't see it in the backgrounder.
I'll defer to
Kane
Kane.
might know it.
I'll defer to Kane.
And just on the other issue, on page 24, I'm just going to go back to page 24 where you list the, where is it? Yeah, page 24, you list the units. Where is it? 60 affordable units. Kane or Alex, are you using the CMHC, 80% of the average rent in the area, or are you looking at using the 30% gross of the family income?
We utilize, if they want to tap into the affordable housing program and the perks that come with that in regard to some enhanced development rights, they must have funding through CMHC or one of those government bodies. They determine all of that, and there's so many different variations on those programs, but if they're tied into one of those affordable housing programs that is there to meet some kind of the affordable housing market, that's acceptable to us. But it's another level of government that will determine the criteria for affordability.
Yeah, and the reason I asked, Mr. Chair, because Councillor Duran mentioned about the market value housing is skyrocketing. It's taken off with a lot of construction going on, but it's the affordable and accessible housing. And it states here, below is a brief summary of the positive neutral attributes. Positive, the city has experienced a demand for housing and the addition of 60 affordable housing units. So we'll be using CMHC's rulings, whether it's 80% or 30% of the gross.
Correct.
Correct?
Yep.
Thanks, sir.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. All right, Kane, Mr. Arsenault, is he there? I think Mr. Banks was going to come as well, as he mentioned to me, so I'm guessing Mr. Banks has arrived.
Kane was just there.
What's that?
He was
Yeah,
just there.
yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Alex. Is he coming? Anybody a good whistler? Nobody? Sorry about that, folks. All right, Kane, the floor is
for having
yours.
Here tonight through APM Commercial, and partnership with Killam and RioCan. A little bit of a review of what we'll speak of. I am going to go through this quickly, and probably afterwards, I believe Tim's getting here. He'll come in and speak to any technical questions that you or your worship have. Just again, a little bit of an introduction. Sherwood Crossing is a diverse housing and community development on the edge of Sherwood planned for young professionals, mature families, and aging citizens looking to stay in the community or establish new roots in an evolving and characteristic neighborhood. Located next to our regional shopping center and within close proximity to schools, parks, public transportation, and pedestrian routes, Sherwood Crossing not only encourages a healthier environment and lifestyle, but also contributes to the area's economic growth and the stabilization of an increasingly volatile housing market. With only quality finishes in mind and features such as underground parking, common amenities, outdoor public spaces, and a focus on community health and wellness, Sherwood Crossing will be a monument to the area that will be enjoyed by all generations for years to come. Some quick notes about our partners in this. Killam Apartment REIT, based in Halifax, is one of Canada's largest residential landlords, owning, operating, managing, and developing a $3.3 billion portfolio of apartments, manufactured home community properties. Killam's properties are located in Atlantic Canada's 6 largest urban centers, Ontario, Alberta, and British Columbia, and their core values are to build communities and do the right thing. Along with Killam, we have RioCan. RioCan is one of Canada's largest real estate investment trusts. They own, manage, and develop quality retail and mixed-use properties located in prime, high-density transit-oriented areas where Canadians want to shop, live, and work. As of June 30th, 2020, their portfolio is comprised of 221 properties with an aggregated net leasable area of approximately 38.6 million square feet of office, retail, and residential properties. This is just an aerial view, quick overview of Charlottetown. Here we have some of our major arteries. That would be Sherwood, and this is Sherwood Crossing and our Confederation Trail. Zooming in a little bit closer, we've got the bypass, St. Peter's Road, Mount Edward Road, University Avenue, Capitol Drive, and the new extension passing through Towers Road and the property that's soon to be deeded for a new public road to bypass them all. As you can see, parks, churches, schools, business parks, shopping, all in the vicinity of the development. Another look at it. Here we have our sole apartment access, which would be the more dense access. Our townhouse access, which we're aligning with the current one going into Sherrdale, and the health access, which I believe is existing at the moment. And on the original report from planning, it did show a secondary access quite close to the intersection. We have since removed that for safety reasons. And this is the new public access, as I spoke of. Just another look at the development. This is the apartment phase, the townhouse phase, and the public health phase. And again, this is the connector land that Alex was referring to earlier, Confederation Trail, and again, the new public road. These are just some images of the apartment side of the development down lower. Some details of it would be, it's consisting of 314 one, two, and three-bedroom apartment units spread over 4 buildings. There's a mix of market, affordable, and seniors-friendly housing. We have surface parking as well as underground parking in 2 of the larger buildings. I believe that was missed in the report. Common amenity and fitness space, private balconies, common outdoor gathering areas, modern contemporary materials and finishes, and sustainable building features such as higher R value, solar power for common building areas, low E-glazing, water conservation including sub-metered apartments, LED lighting throughout, carbon neutral materials where available, and Energy Star appliances. These are just some images of the townhouse aspect. Some features here would be these 36 two-story townhomes, lowered scale as we elevate up through to Mount Edward Road, heated garages. All homes have 3 bedrooms with 2.5 baths, open concept living and dining, spacious family room and offices in lower level, modern and contemporary materials and finishes, and sustainable building features, the same as we have in the apartment. Community Health Center, just a perspective front elevation, another perspective going up Mount Edward Road. Again, we're only choosing the one access further away from the intersection now. Some features of this would be 1-story multi-unit community health care and wellness center within walking distance from multiple neighborhoods, spacious parking for people with mobility issues, modern and contemporary materials and finishes respectful of the area, and also all the same sustainable building features. One thing Killam's very conscious about is sustainability. It would have been nice if I had the time to go through their ESG report, which is environmental and social governance report. I'd suggest you go on their website and check it out. It's quite impressive, the concerns they're dealing with the concern of social or carbon footprint. This isn't going. Are you frozen there, Ellen? This doesn't seem to be going. General facts and benefits about Sherwood Crossing. Contributes to the city's troubling vacancy rate and adds more housing choices for the neighborhood. Provides quality market, seniors-friendly and affordable housing, close to shopping, education, health care, and public transit. Discourages further urban sprawl and spreads population growth more equitably across the city. Is located on the edge of Sherwood, away from more established and quiet areas. Stabilizes infrastructure costs by utilizing existing resources. It encourages business growth and economic development, and establishes a community health and wellness center within a walkable distance from areas not currently serviced by one. We're dedicating public green space with access to the Confederation Trail, and an independent traffic study with excellent to good levels of service was prepared. Thank you. Questions?
All right, Kane, thank you very much for your
You're
presentation.
welcome.
Can you, I do have a question before I open the floor up. I did what? Can you take the slide back to where you were showing phase 1, phase 2, phase 3? Any one of those maps? Yeah, right there. Perfect. So that roadway I see above that has, is that a potential connector from?
I think we got off the wrong PowerPoint there.
No, that's okay right there anyways. That's good. So this road up here. Right here. Is that a future road?
Yes,
That's
as Alex.
Are other people going to have access to that? So, for instance, if someone was developing on the future parcels, on the ones above, so I know there's potential development on those as well. Is this a city's road they can tap into? Is that the idea of this?
That's the intent that road got to be
Okay.
there for the city.
That was the extension of Spencer, right?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for Kane or staff?
I'm just going to go, I'm sure Tim's here now, I'm just going to go get him and...
Well, if he's watching in there, he can make his way
he'll
over.
come in.
Bring him in.
He probably wants to say a few words.
Yeah,
about the
okay.
development.
Can I just clarify where that road begins and goes to, Greg, the one that you were just pointing out?
Well, that's going to be is that what's it called, Spencer, I think?
Spencer
So Tower
connects to Ash.
It comes in right now
Ash
by...
Drive,
by
which is
That's
already
Ash
a
Drive.
busy
I've
street.
been on
Okay,
this.
right. So that's probably going to run right through is
So instead of Spencer turning and coming onto Towers Road?
no, that'll be one way.
Yeah, it'll go straight
There'll
over.
be another connector too right
Edward
through.
Road.
Correct. Yeah. So there'll be a bunch of connectors in there that kind of
That'll come
alleviates.
out at Mad Edward Road where Ash is.
I believe so. Yes. Good evening, Tim.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, thank you. I'm a trustee and director of Killam Properties, and I'm the president of Pan American Properties. We've secured an option on this property from Stuart McKay's trust or family. We've had that in place for 8 or 9 months. We're on our third extension. Typically, when you option a property, if you're buying a house, you might have 30 days, you might have 60 days. We're out 8 months now, being patient through COVID and so on and so forth. But the Stort family are at the end of their persuasion with us in terms of closing in this property. And because it's a CDA zone, and we're a public company that people can own the shares in or whatever they want to do, we can't go into something and close on the property and deal with the property without having a contract. And to have a contract, we need approval and we need zoning. And unless somebody was talking about a deferral, if there's a deferral, we walk away simply because the people we're trying to buy the property from aren't interested in pursuing it any further. From our perspective, we think from a developer's point of view is we are taking a commercial component of our commercial property, being the Charlottetown Mall, which we purchased in partnership with RioCan. We have 50% in development control of the property. We're providing a new public extension from Spencer Drive to Towers Road, which we're giving to the city for $1 as part of this proposed development. And our engineers who've done the traffic study, who are one of the more thorough traffic people in the region, have said that this is an excellent step for the area in terms of providing better traffic for the area. We've worked with your planning people to discuss the density of the project. If we were doing this project in another city within the Atlantic region, we could build up to 600 to 900 units on easily within the confines of most cities. So our density is quite low in our view in terms of the 14 acres. And the other side of it is we're here in front of you as a developer that in our Charlottetown Mall we pay $1,100,000 a year in property taxes, 60% of which goes back to the city. In addition to that, with Killam we have 1,200 units here in Prince Edward Island, a good chunk of them in the Charlottetown marketplace that we pay taxes on. And we're here to continue our investment. And we're here to do it not tomorrow morning, but we're going to do it over a 10-year plan. But in order to do that, we need to get an agreement. And I'm here to answer any of the questions you want. I can tell you this, that both partnerships, RioCan and Killam, have what's called an ESG, which is an environmental, social, and governance policy. It's ingrained in our company's development process. You can go online. Both of them are 20 and 30 pages. It tells you that we have a social conscience. That's why we're putting forward the ability to put affordable housing on the marketplace. We have design requirements that are above anybody else in this Prince Edward Island marketplace by a long shot. And we're committed to that. And our investors see that, and most of our investors are institutional investors that are pension funds and banks and institutions. So anyway, I'll answer any other questions, but I'm here to tell you that we have to move on. We don't see this as trying to ram something down somebody's throat. We're just trying to get a deal done to strengthen our mall. We invested in the mall because we think it's a good regional center, but we need to strengthen it because we can't find employees to work in the stores, because they can't find places to live. It's just, it's a process.
All right, thank you, Mr. Banks.
Mr. Banks?
Yes, Your Worship.
I asked Kane and I asked Mr. Forbes, where it says one 4-story building containing 60 affordable housing units, CMHC room 80% of the average, or is it the 30% gross of family income? What are you looking at? Yeah, have you made a decision on
I
that?
can't answer that question, but I can tell you that under your development agreement, we'll be required to put affordable housing in that is approved by CMHC under their terms of their affordable funding agreements.
Okay.
And that's just a standard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's in the development agreement, Alex. You can put that in. We'll undertake to do that. And the other thing that we're doing here that, besides the north-south corridor road that we're talking about, we're also preserving out, if you see at the top of the drawing, another east-west option for the city someday as the city grows to be able to connect over to Mount Edward Road, or to be able to turn up towards north to work with the rest of the land. And again, we'll put that in the development agreement, and we've already noted it on our drawings. So do I have a pointer here? Yes, I do. Well, it was working a second ago. There. It doesn't go on the...
I think it was the road that I was just referring to.
What's that?
I was just referring to that road from Spencer Drive up to Mount Edward.
Yeah, up to Mount Edward, yep.
Okay.
Just, again,
Yes,
another
Paul.
question.
Yep.
And Mr. Banks, on page 25 of your background, it does recommend from staff, recommending that the application proceed to a public consultation
Yes.
and a request to rezone portion of PID, 2 PIDs from R2 to CDA. So you're taking...
I think they're the smaller units. They're up in the corner.
And on that, my last question, Mr. Chair.
Yep.
Page 28, that's what we're looking at. What's the total acreage there, the store?
14 acres.
It is 14.
Yep.
Thanks, sir.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Banks or for staff? Councillor Drawn, are you there?
Yes, I am, Chris.
Okay, do you have any questions for Mr. Banks or for staff?
No, I don't.
I know he didn't see the presentation, okay. All right, so this is to advance it to a public meeting. If there's no other questions, then I'll be looking for a motion.
I move.
Move to accept staff's recommendation to advance it to a public meeting. Okay, moved. Basil, you second it? Okay. Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed?
Yes.
Councillor Drawn, are you good or opposed?
All in favor, go to
Okay,
public hearing.
okay, perfect, so it's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, motion carried, thank you.
Can I just ask a clarification question?
Yes.
So if what I understand is correct, it's under the decision of the city to make that road that goes through to North Mount Edward Road, is that correct?
It'll be in the development agreement for first use. Yep.
So it's up to the...
It'll be discretion of the city. Yep.
And just another point too, the road that he talked about going from the Towers to Spencer, that we're building, that's going to have to be another project for the city to build that road. We're paying for it.
That's over the existing Spencer Drive?
No. The space between Towers and Spencer,
Yes.
we're going to build a new road there.
Yeah.
And that'll be our cost. Thanks, sir.
You're welcome. All right, we're going to move on to number 3. Because I think we have, I think Mr. Driscoll that would like to speak to this or answer any questions. So, Greg, this is your application?
Yeah, so the applicant, Boyd Driscoll, submitted an application. The first aspect of the application is to rezone the subject property. It's one property, but it has 3 civic addresses. It's 4042 Kingston Road or 3 Park Street, but it is one property. It's located in the R2 zone, low density residential, and they're looking to rezone to the medium density residential R3 zone. And they will also require a variance to reduce the lot frontage requirement from 98.4 feet to 53.87 feet. The purpose of the rezoning and variance is to convert the existing 3-unit apartment building into a 4-unit apartment building. So as mentioned, it's on the corner of Kingston Road and Park Street. To the north is the Eastlink Center. Across the street on Kingston Road, the dark green on the map is an apartment complex containing 3 buildings for a total 105 units. And the remaining properties on Kingston Road, Park Street, and Belmont in that vicinity are in the R2 zone. So a zoning inquiry was done on March 8th, 2019, which stated that a statutory declaration was received confirming that a triplex was in existence since 1967, which would make that a legal non-conforming use. So the R2 zone allows 2 units, whether semi-detached or a duplex dwelling, but this property has 3 units and has had 3 units for some time now, making it essentially grandfathered in. We received a complaint form on June 5th of this year, which indicated that there was work being done to the exterior of the building, and they thought units were potentially being added to the building. The building inspector went to the site on June 8th and confirmed that 2 electrical meters were added, a new deck and stairs, and numerous entrance doors were under construction, all without a permit. The 2 electrical meters, one would be for the unit being added and the other would be for the building in general, so any common space typically. So we sent the applicant, the property owner, a letter on June 9th, and they started submitting all the required information the following week. So this is a request to proceed to public consultation, and should it make it that far, we will send notices to residents within 100 meters of the property, and it would include the request for variance at that time as well, because that too requires notification to the residents in the area. So it'd be one letter combining all the aspects. So as I mentioned, this property has 3 units prior to the effective date of the bylaw, so they are permitted to remain. But the applicant's looking to, I guess, make that 3rd unit a conforming use, but also add a 4th unit, which isn't permitted in the R2 zone. It is permitted in the R3 zone, which is why the rezoning is required. And in order to have 4 apartment units in the R3 zone, so should the rezoning be approved, you need 98.4 feet of lot frontage and 1,507 square feet of lot area per unit. The subject property has enough lot area, but does not have enough lot frontage, so that's the variance, I guess, explained further. So it's difficult for staff to review application of this nature when the work has been or is being done without a permit. Attempting to resolve it by rezoning or variance after the fact kind of erodes the public's faith in staff, I'll say, and approving and the planning process in general, I guess. With that being said, what the applicant is requesting does have some merit. There's a few aspects in the official plan which would be applicable. It's moderately higher densities. It's not affecting any existing low-density housing because, like I said, other than exterior decks and doors, it's interior work. There's no additions being built or anything of that nature. It's using underground services to their fullest practical capacity. It's development in fully serviced areas near centers of employment. And but then on the other side again, when dealing with legal non-conforming uses, the rationale is that long-term direction is that they gravitate towards being conforming. In this case, that would be a 2-unit dwelling. However, staff have no objections to the 3 units, so rezoning it and applying the variance kind of further gives non-conformance to the property, I'll say, even though it's getting rezoned to the right zone. So staff are recommending that the application not proceed to public consultation, but the applicant is here to answer questions and give maybe a little presentation.
Thanks, Craig. What we'll do is we'll have the applicant come in and do the presentation, and then we'll open the floor up to questions to both staff and the applicant. I think it's just for the essence of time. So if Boyd wants to come in. I'm already marking down my questions. Not to make Boyd nervous. Hi Boyd, how are you?
Great. Good.
Welcome to Planning Board. First time here?
Yes.
So I'll just do a quick introduction here for you know. So I chaired the board, Craig Rivard. I have Councillor Jason Cody to my right, Councillor Julie McCabe. We have, of course, your mayor, and Councillor Duran is online.
Yeah.
And then we have resident members that represent the neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And then we have staff. So welcome. Greg just did his presentation. Is there anything that you would like to add to the presentation?
Yeah, I'm just, with the area being down there, I know that Kurt's ahead of the horse a little bit there. We just went and we did put the new windows and doors in because when we purchased the place, the doors were falling off. This place was just a dump. It was just a drug house. You know, and we took and cleaned the place up, put some new windows and doors, just coat of paint on, just to make the area look presentable. As far as I know, with the neighbors down there, they've come up and have praised me for taking this place and fixing it up, like painting it, cleaning it, getting rid of the garbage. And, you know, the police have not been down around there. Every night there's been police cars down there with the amount of people that were going in for drugs and doing whatever in the place. So the only thing that I've done there is on the Park Street side, it was a 2-story home. There was a downstairs, upstairs. So I did put a door on the front on Kingston Road side that would get you to the upstairs. So, and my drawings show that there's a 1-bedroom to be downstairs and a 1-bedroom to be upstairs. So that controls, instead of having a crowd of people living in a 3 or 4-bedroom apartment there, it takes it out where you got one person or a husband and wife living in a 1-bedroom apartment. So it keeps less noise, less traffic going around. You don't have the headache of dealing with a bunch of people in an apartment. So, because I have a few other buildings around Charlottetown here, that's the way we operate. We just do 1-bedroom apartments and we don't have to deal with a whole lot of people. And I did the plan up there for the parking, so I had the land to do the parking and stuff. When I first originally went to the city for that for planning, that's the only issue they told me that I need to address was for the, but I don't have that on paper, so it's just hearsay. So I proceeded on, and I've got the other stuff done through the surveyors and stuff, through the legal people there at the end of the day. So I know we did go a bit ahead, but at the end of the day, all I'm looking for is to add another unit. I'm not changing or adding anything on there. And as the doors and the windows went in and the deck went on, there was a deck already there, so it was ready to fall down. So do you let it, people still walk up the stairs, or do I replace it? So, you know, that's my only concern there, was that part. So I'm just looking at, instead of having a 3-bedroom unit, I want to make it 2 1-bedrooms, and I don't have to deal with a whole lot of people. And if it doesn't go that way, well, then I just make it a 3-unit, and we just put the family of 8 or 9 in there, whatever goes in there, and then you got a lot more traffic and people to deal with, because you don't know, there could be 7 students could move in there, and everybody with cars and do whatever. So this way here, I have a lot of it that you've got your individual 1 parking spot for 1 unit. And so you can only have the 4 cars there. If you got 2 cars in your family, well, you have to find another place to park. So, you know,
Okay, thanks Boyd. I'll open it up for questions from the floor. Any questions for staff or for the applicant?
I do.
Councillor McCabe.
I do. So I'm just wanting to make sure I'm clear. So basically grandfathered in, he's technically an R2, but he has an R3 that's non-conforming but grandfathered in prior to. So we probably want to bring that up to what it is anyway, right?
So
You want it to be,
the non-conforming piece is the fact that it's 3 units on an
correct.
R2.
Right, but it's 3 units and he's allowed to have 3 units even though it's,
On an R2, correct. It can remain R2 and still have 3 units. If Boyd decides to keep it 3 units, he wouldn't be here tonight.
right,
Maybe
because of
grandfathered
being
in.
grandfathered in.
Correct.
Right, but if you bring it up to speed because he wants to make it into that 4th apartment to the R, then it's still R3. It's an R3 really technically.
Well, it's not, because if, and I'll ask Greg the question, is that if let's assume that the house burns down and you rezone that to R3, based on the land size, how many permitted rooms can they put as of right on that corner
I'll
lot?
have to look again. I think he'd be between 4 and 5 units, depending on the lot size. He has enough for 4, he might have another for 5, but I'd have to look at that.
But that would be close, like he's kind of as maximum
But
as
I
he's
would, I would
got.
sign any paper stating that it would not be anything more than a 4-unit, like down the road, anything happened to it, then it's not gonna be any more than a 4.
With
If
a
it's ever
development.
sold, it can only be sold as a 4-unit, nothing else. Like,
Yeah.
zone just for that routine, the 4 units, and that's it. I have no intentions of adding pieces on or doing anything, it's just me and my son have it. It's an investment for him down the road, so it's just for his future down the road to have income coming in type of thing. So I have no intention of adding on, and I can sign whatever papers need to be signed saying there'll be no additions, no nothing. So if it was to go tomorrow, burn down, 4-unit will go back up type of thing. That's, if I got it deemed as a 4-unit, the 4-unit will go back up, not a 5, 6, 7, or whatever, you know.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Are the units vacant right now, or are they?
No, there was two that that people live in, and the other side I'm doing over was the side that's got the 3 Park Street, the upstairs, downstairs. So I'm just putting windows and doors in there and stuff like that, put the doors in, so I don't want to put the cart too ahead of the horse until we get the permit, but if not, I built the wall and stuff and everything, the wall and everything in there, so I'll just take, if it doesn't go to a 4-unit, I'm just gonna take the wall down, and then it'll be back opened up to a 3-bedroom unit again, and we'll just take and put a crowd in there more so than having just a single person, like our other ones we have is down on Cumberland Street, where I've got Hong College students that rent their stuff there, so that's basically my point and goal, is to do that routine, is just have students in there and stuff like that. I don't want a crowd of people. There's no pets allowed, there's no dogs, none of that stuff around there, because I don't deal with that stuff, but I'd rather just have a single person or a husband and wife in there. It's not a tribe deal, because I don't want people phoning and dealing with that stuff, so that's just a simple way to keep it in 1 bedroom instead of having, you got a 3-bedroom in there, you're gonna have a crowd of people, in my opinion, so.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So, Mr. Chair, I know Boyd, I know the applicant, I'm not in conflict of interest, but I just want to make it clear that if you know that aerial shot just doesn't really show a real picture, to the east is the East Link Center.
Yep.
To the north is Civic Towers. If you go down west, you'll run into the new apartment building that was built where the
Train
convenience
store.
store was. It's not that it's going to be out of place, this proposal, and yes, that's why we need summary offense tickets. So if someone does, as we've said over and over, if there is a developer who doesn't abide by the bylaw, we can issue a ticket. And I'm not saying that we can issue one to Boyd now, but that's our issue right now. We can't do anything about it. And I feel, it's too bad for our planners and the planning department that we have to always catch these guys, and not just, I'm not talking about you, Boyd, we had another situation at our last meeting where someone went ahead and constructed the building, and then, do you tear it down or do you make amends? And I can tell you that if we go to a public meeting, I'm sure that the residents who live in that area will come out to say that this is a welcome improvement to the area. It has been an issue, I think it was up, Rosemary, I think it popped up in the 2014 election and 2018 election. So it's been around for 8 years, or 6 years. Sorry.
Well, I just know from the residents down there that come up, they've said, since it's here, they can walk the streets, there's stuff not being taken out of their cars, there's no drug fellows going down the street stumbling out, and crackheads, whatever, like the place was just nonstop going in and out that door. So they said, cleaned the place up, said it was just a shack down there with everything around, trees down, old fences, old decks, everything just you know, just put a facelift on it, which improved the place, you know,
It's just too bad you
100%.
put the cart before the horse, but that.
Yes, I know, I know, I put the cart, I'm not denying that by one,
When did you buy the property?
about 5 months ago, 6 months ago.
Greg, quick question. Oh, sorry, Chris, go ahead.
My question is, this property, I showed it, and kudos to you for taking it on, you've done a good job. It was pretty rough when it was for sale. That's a big yard, does that yard not go right to the next house?
Yes, it does.
All that green space
All
is
that
your
green
property?
space, yeah.
It's a
So that's where the new proposed parking will be.
Yeah.
I've got that's all drawn up there and stuff, so.
That's the parking plan there.
Oh, yeah, so that's no backing out on the street or anything then?
Because see, when I first came in, they told me that in order to do the parking, you had to be 60 feet from the front of the house, back was the entrance for the parking. That's all I was told that I had to do. That's why I proceeded on, you know, when the other stuff came in. So when I took it in, I said, would I be able to make this into a 4-unit? And he said, well, the things that you have to do for a 4-unit would be get the plot plan, and then you would have to get a drawing done up, survey drawing done up of how the parking would be. So he said, I did have enough land to do that, so I said, okay, then I took that over to Mantha Surveyors. They did up that plan and everything for me, so that's what I went on. And by putting the cart ahead of the horse, I knew that ritual, and I said, well, at the end of the day, if it doesn't get approved, I've got the upstairs, I'm just taking that wall out, and it's back to the 3-bedroom apartment, so.
So Greg, this is touching commercial property to the north, right?
Probably to the north.
Or is that a vacant lot on our?
It's technically
Commercial.
green space, I guess, but it's.
That civic center and everything is there,
Yeah,
and then there's a duplex beside me.
And the
then there's a
racetrack.
Duplex across the street, the racetrack, everything, that's all the civic center parking right there.
It's not
But
a
they put the
quiet
tents-
neighborhood.
They put the tents and everything up there. So they've got the big, where the house is, and that green space with that little barn that's there, that's all the civic center fence, they got an 8-foot fence and everything up there. And then that's a duplex that's down past it.
Where's the frontage variance you need on?
Well, I wasn't told that at the first time, on Kingston Road side, I was not told that on the first time when I was in there, but like I say, I don't have this down, written in paper, or when I went in to see, so that's just me saying, but I was never told that I needed to have that frontage, which I can't understand what you need the 100 feet of frontage for if you're not changing anything in the,
It's been there for.
you know, you're not adding on to the building, which you have to do. I'm not adding on, I didn't add 1 foot of anything on there. The deck is even smaller than what the deck used to be before there, and just put doors and windows, so there's no pieces to put in.
Of course, maybe this is a question more for Greg. Greg, is there any other way to accomplish this goal if the rezoning is contentious at a public meeting? Is there any, can council intensify a non-conforming use? I guess.
The only other way is you do site specific, but that's the
Okay.
zoning process again, so.
Yeah,
I mean, to get extra units on a property that isn't zoned for even what it has today
Yeah.
is the issue.
no, fair enough. What about any building code issues with this? What's that?
There could be.
With the
no permits
rezoning?
at all submitted until after the complaint letter was sent out, so, should this all be rezoned, they'd have to get a building permit, and the building inspector will take a look at it, and there'll have to be certain fire separation.
Yeah, it's all 5/8, you could take him in there and you can go through whatever you want in there. You won't have any issue that way.
So again,
I probably got more in there than what
I wouldn't want to rezone it and then find out that something doesn't meet building code. I just want to make sure that if we're going to rezone it, that they tie in. You don't see any issues, or you don't know?
Oh, there could be. Yeah,
Okay.
be allocated.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Nope. All right, so this is to go to a public meeting. Staff's recommendation is to reject, to go to a public meeting. Councilor Duran, do you have any questions? Oh, sorry. Sorry, Councilor Cody.
I'll ask council.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I was just gonna make a motion, and in all fairness to staff, it's a tough situation, but
It is.
hearing what the applicant has said here, hasn't increased the footprint, cleaned up the area. I mean, I think it makes sense to go to a public meeting. So I would make a motion that this proceed to a public meeting.
Second it.
Okay, so it's moved and seconded, Ellen. So, sorry, Councilor Cody, it's hard to see what's happening, kind of like mirrors.
You don't know who's at your back,
Yeah,
right?
no, exactly.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah, what was that? Councilor Duran, you have no questions, do you?
No,
Okay.
great, thank you.
All right, motion on the floor to approve to go to a public meeting. It's moved and seconded. Is there any further
Could I make
conversation?
one comment?
You
Again,
may.
look, the staff, Greg and Alex, the whole staff, Ellen, these are really tough situations, and I appreciate all the work, but I just know the area. I grew up in the area, so did Boyd, you know, jumping over the fence to go into the old exhibition that Bell Lynch shows. So I know the area, and this area is not a very quiet area. It's a very active area, so what Boyd is doing there, I appreciate it. So I'll be voting in favor of going to public
Well, he
meeting.
broke the rules, but we're gonna try to
Amend them.
correct, because he still did break the rules.
Yeah, I'm card ahead of the
That's
horse.
why staff did this, right?
No, I don't think it's fully because of the permit. It's just the fact that staff will never, ever vote in favor of intensifying a non-conforming use. So it has nothing to do with the building permit not being issued. It just causes problems when they come forward with something. That's after the fact. But again, the reason why staff is saying rejecting it is because you don't want to intensify a non-conforming use. So I don't think staff's insulted.
I mean, if you came in prior to doing the work, I mean, it still would be difficult to recommend for it,
Yeah.
because you can see it's an R2 neighborhood, and he's probably the only R3 that is zoned, or the only 3 units that's zoned R2 in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then to take a 4th unit is not only rezoning it to something that isn't in the neighborhood other than the 105 units across the street, it's, you'd be rezoning it, the lot's not large enough for it, and it already has more than its own to have.
Thank you. Okay, so we have motion on the floor to send to a public meeting. It was seconded. If there's no further discussion, put it to a vote. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Duran, what was?
Okay.
Okay, so it was unanimous in favor. Motion carried. Thank you, Boyd.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so shifting, I guess, to number 2, which is 12 Valley Street and 281 University Avenue. Shallon, you're in conflict. Are you, so you're just gonna stick around and answer any questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Yep, okay. Greg, whenever you're ready.
All right, so this is an application. Bear with me, I'll try to explain all the different parts of it, but it's Provincial Credit Union is the applicant, and 9 Yard Studio is the architect. So the application's to subdivide a portion of 12 Valley Street, which is the R2 zone. It is also owned by the Provincial Credit Union. They're looking to rezone the back portion of said property from the R2 zone to the MUC zone to match up with Credit Union. They'd be looking to consolidate that rezoned portion with the Credit Union and all the properties that the Credit Union encompasses on that map. And then finally a variance to the flankage yard setback in order to construct a new addition to the Credit Union. So bear with me, I'll try to explain that in more detail. So essentially on this map you can see, and I might come over, so this large property is the Credit Union, and you can see on this plan it comprises of 6 different properties. So the idea is to make them all one. But in addition to that, 12 Valley Street is a very long R2 property, and they'd be looking to take the back portion and rezone it to MUC and then consolidate it with the Credit Union as well. So it would be all of the MUC being consolidated plus a portion, the back portion of 12 Valley Street. So rezone the back portion of this and then consolidate all of it together. Does that make sense? So this is a request to proceed to public consultation, and like the last application, should it proceed, we'll send a letter for the variances, or the variance and consolidation as well. So I'm going to talk about 12 Valley Street for a sec. So it is minimum lot frontage for a single detached dwelling in the R2 zone, which steps down to the R1S zone, is 59.1 feet. The 12 Valley Street does not have that lot frontage. However, the frontage is not being affected in this application, only the lot area. So the lot area for that property is being reduced, but they have to ensure that they can meet the required lot area of 540 square meters, which this survey plan achieves. So the portion at the back, I guess, is extra lot area, I'll say, and not required for the single detached dwelling in the R2 zone. The applicants would be looking to expand the parking into that property. So the parking lot for the credit union in general would get revamped, I'll say. The other aspect is to rezone all the properties. So like I said, the credit union comprises of 6 parcels, 5 of which have one PID and 1 has the other. So should this all be approved and said and done, it would all be one property, all zoned MUC, and 12 Valley Street would remain R2, but would have the required lot area that it is supposed to. So finally, again, should all that be approved, the applicants are looking to construct an addition to the credit union. So you can see on this plan, this is the existing credit union, and they'd be looking to put an addition on the Reserve Street side, I'll say. So the minimum flankage yard setback, so the front yard setback in this situation is Reserve Street, and the flankage yard would be University Avenue, and that's because the smallest of the two frontages on a corner is the front yard, so that is Reserve Street. So flankage yard is University Avenue. The minimum setback's 19.7 feet, and they're looking to maintain 5 foot 2.5 inches, so about 14 feet less than the minimum. Our bylaw allows you to line up with existing buildings on the street if it is closer than the minimum on the front yard only. So it does not apply on the flankage yard. However, they are proposing to line up with the adjacent building at 269 University Avenue, which is the bottom of that map. So what they're proposing to do with the addition will line up with these buildings here along University Avenue. Our bylaw, as of right, allows you to line up with these buildings, but it's silent on the flankage yard, so that's why a variance is required. So ultimately, staff are recommending approval. There is some policy in the official plan that does support highway commercial growth along University Avenue. So staff are recommending approval to go to public meeting, but there's many more aspects to this application than just the rezoning, I guess, what I'm trying to get at.
Thanks, Craig.
Yeah.
All right, any questions for Shalin? We'll see if anybody's answering. I'm gonna ask the same question I'm thinking of.
So I guess for today, we're just voting on the rezoning aspect,
yeah.
but next month, it'll be variance consolidation and rezoning.
Okay.
Why would you do it all at once?
Well, you don't want to approve a variance. Well, we can't approve a variance for this property until it's all consolidated, because you can't have a building over property lines.
Okay.
And then they can't really approve a building until they have the required parking, and that required parking's on the part that they're rezoning, so it kind of all steps back to the rezoning is required for them to achieve what they want, essentially. But
Or complicated.
yes, yeah, we're complicating it.
Yeah. Yeah, can I add one thing? I guess it doesn't really matter for the rezoning, but I guess just about the variance on the flankage yard, like the reason we want to do that, like we're considering University Avenue our front, even though it's not considered the front yard. And we just want to be kind of good urban neighbors and create that street wall again, so we want to line up with the adjacent building. That's the only reason for stepping up a little bit. They have an existing drive-through there, which they're now getting rid of, so we actually have that space to gain on the front.
I was gonna ask that question. What's gonna happen to the drive-through?
Yes, it's gone.
Gone.
Modern banking, digital now.
All right, any other questions or comments? Again, this is to advance it to a public meeting.
You do a very good job explaining it. Thank you.
Try.
For someone like me.
All right, anyone want to put, Reg,
I put a motion on the floor, accept staff's
recommendation?
approval of the meeting.
Okay. Okay, moved and seconded, perfect. Is there any other questions for Shalin or Greg? All right, seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, Councillor Drawn, I'm assuming you're good?
Yes, I'm in favor, Greg, thank you.
Okay, all right. Motion carried.
Is Shalin one of us again?
Shallon is stepping back and she's one of us. All right, so we're moving on to others, which is B, the Tim Horton drive-through on May Point Road. Mr. Forbes.
Mr. Chair, so there's a lot of moving parts on this, but I'll try to make this hopefully as simplistic as I can, and that map is relatively small, so. The property that we're dealing with is the property that contains the hotel off of Capitol Drive and May Point Road. At the time that property was subdivided, there was 3 access points provided. And that was part of the original traffic study before anything went here. So there was a driveway, it's the width of a road in here to get you into the hotel site. This was a separate property owned by Cordova Edmonton. So DP Murphy in here, this was a separate parcel. Everybody wanted as many accesses as they could get. All they got was, the hotel got their own access, which is the more ideal access because it's the furthest back from the roundabout. The developer here, Cordova, fought really hard for this access point. It's a little bit concerning because it was right next door to the hotel access. And then they got a right in, right out over here. So they can both share that. There's a right-of-way agreement that traffic can get off of this property and go on to the adjacent property to get back down to Capitol Drive. So, but at that time, we didn't know what anybody was going to build. So Cordova built some fairly intensive uses there. It's in the report that they have a car wash, they have a convenience store, they have a small little restaurant there, they have a number of uses. But at the last minute, they put in a drive-through. And the drive-through, there's a provision in the zoning bylaw that says if you have a drive-through, you need to get the traffic report. So they went back to the original traffic engineer who prepared three access points. And the concern was at that time, so that traffic report came back and said that things looked okay. Councilor Rivard and some others had a concern because they could see that traffic was already queuing here. And the report said the traffic shouldn't be queuing there. The problem is that the data that went to the traffic engineer in another locale came from the province. And I'm not sort of, just the way things are collected, but some of the traffic analysis was collected on a holiday. So it gets sent to the traffic engineer, he just processed, it's a math equation. He said it was okay, or it looked like it was okay. Then we asked for a peer review. Then that's what came out of that peer review. The traffic analysis that came from the province took it on. I think it was actually it was this weekend, like the Hawk-Long weekend in August weekend, and as a result, the analysis was off. So we had a peer review. The peer review says, okay, we've looked at it again. They really leveraged the it's called the EXP report. That was the one that was done a little bit in error, but they were off a little bit, but the EXP report said they were concerned that in 2025, or they're about in the horizon, you need this right turn lane. So with the new analysis, the Crandall Engineering out of St. John, the last traffic report concurred with the previous report and said that because of the enhanced amount of traffic going by here, based upon the modeling, that this right turn lane had to happen initially at the developer's expense. It's about $150,000. When we presented that to them, they were quiet, I don't know, 6 or 7 months ago. I hadn't heard from them. And I didn't know whether that killed the deal. So, DP Murphy, of course, is Tim Hortons, but this is not DP Murphy's site. This is a private developer who's doing it on behalf of DP Murphy to have the drive-through. So they just reemerged and they agreed. They said, yes, we will agree to the most recent traffic report, and we will pay for this right turn lane. Now, again, I'm not a traffic engineer, but what the right turn lane does, the concern is you're coming into the city, you pull off of here to get into this development, particularly to get into this drive-through, this queuing lane. It's a double queuing lane, and you come around here. And what's happening, there's so much traffic coming out of May Point, if the traffic from May Point is trying to get just back into the intersection, it's going to start to back up here, past this access point, and then when you're trying to make a left turning movement in here, it's going to start backing out onto the highway. And that's going to create a major problem. So the province is aware of that. They've been working with us. That cannot and we do not want that to happen. So what will happen is that the traffic that would be trying to get through, if you were here and you were trying to get through and get over to Upton Road, you're not going to have a whole lot of, with the slip lane, you can get into that and head back to town, and then it's not going to interfere. The traffic circle will clear faster for traffic trying to get to the Upton Road side, and this will alleviate some pressure. Again, I know this is like she said, confusing, but at the end of the day, they've agreed to do it all. It's highly technical. It's supported by the traffic report. But on top of all of that, staff are still concerned, regardless of what the traffic report says, that this could happen. This could happen. That cars are going to come in here. They're going to wait because there'll be traffic blocking this access, trying to get across, and then it will start to queue up back into the brand new, highly expensive, highly efficiently operating provincial roundabout. So we also said to them, in addition to you pay the $150,000, could be more, but that's their problem, they have to pay for it. We've indicated if we can see on 2 consecutive days that is happening, it's significantly happening, we'll go and we'll camera it, we'll put cameras on it, and if for whatever reason, the growth in the area or whatever, if you're going to interfere with this roundabout, then you're going to have to close this access point. And then you're going to have to use the DP Murphy, and then you'll come up to the DP Murphy, and then you'll come in this way. As much as the $150,000 that they're paying to put in this right slip lane, which is going to create efficiency, and hopefully not create that, in my humble opinion, the biggest thing that they're going to agree to do is to close that access. That access is, if you're a private business and that's your property, to have to use a right way to get into your property is fairly significant. So they're going to want to protect that. I guess that's what that's telling us, is that they're willing to do that, is that they're pretty confident it's not going to happen. But we have a bit of a break on this whole development. If it does happen, this gets closed, then the queuing, we have more space for cars to get in through here. And so there's a development agreement. We have a number of terms, conditions that in addition to you pay to build the slip lane, you do a whole lot of other things. But the key thing is if you start compounding problems out there in the roundabout, you have to close this access point. So I know that there's a lot in that. And I'm not a traffic engineer, but there's been a lot of people with concerns. The province has looked at all of these traffic reports. They've agreed that the 2 consecutive days is reasonable. Oh, and there's another provision. It's an extraordinary event if there's an accident in the area, there's major road work on Upton Road or something that changes the traffic pattern. We're not going to close their access lane. If there's flooding in the area and a culvert gets knocked out and it rediverts over here. But the key thing is that we can, it's a very quantitative number, and the cameras indicating if that movement is not working correctly, they've agreed to resolve it. Councilor Rivera is still skeptical. No,
I'm good. Listen, a traffic engineer is a traffic engineer. Who am I to argue with a traffic engineer? It's not my expertise. But it's just that they're putting a whole lot of measures in place that if it doesn't work, it always worries me when someone puts that many measures in place, but yet we're confident. Right. If you're confident, why would you have all the measures? Anyways, that's.
But I guess my last comment is, and again, I'm not the traffic engineer, but my point would be if this gets closed. This is the concern we had from day one, and we somewhat had to, at the time that the subdivision was all happening and the roundabout was happening, and nobody knew what was really happening in there, and we were restricted 1, 2, 3 into a relatively big site. But if that gets closed, we would have ideally liked to have this to happen from day one, all coming in on this roadway and not that access. So that access is really, again, I would call it the relief valve or brake, that if all of these measures, these technical measures to improve traffic flow doesn't work, they're going to lose the thing that I would have liked to have seen from day one. But it was hard to negotiate because it's really hard to sell a property. That's a very valuable property, and have a right of way. They don't even have a direct access to the road site. So anyway, they're willing to do these things. We'd like to send it up to council with the agreement to support it under those conditions. So there's a lot of discussion about what will be in a development agreement. They reluctantly agree to it. Developers don't like to give you money but it's indicative of what kind of money is a copy and the amount of volumes that they'll be there. We don't know whether it'll take pressure off of the one down on North River. There could be a bit of a split, we don't know. It might be helpful because North River, Tim Hortons coffees, lots of other drive-thrus, coffee drive-thrus don't create an issue, but Tim Hortons are unique, and they're unique in that they're incredibly popular.
Just a question over there. Is there going to be a left turn lane in when you come in there? Coming in this way, yeah. Coming in, and is that going to be split in two with a left turn lane?
That is in the report, but I don't know that I don't think they have a lot of geometry in there to create that. I think there may be a couple there. They'll be creating like an arrow to get in through there.
Yeah, but that's going to be tricky without it.
Right.
Where does that slip lane start?
The slip lane starts right here, right at the entrance, right? So if you came out the entrance,
you could move a left turn.
and you could get into that slip lane and then get out that way.
Because you'll have 2 lanes of traffic there.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
after the
So
slip
that,
lane.
it'll have to be divided there. This is traffic engineering world. I mean, they know how to do it much better than I do, but that's what it's intended to do. If you're heading out this way and you're heading back to town, you can just loop around and you're not going to interfere with the traffic that's trying to get through the roundabout. You can get out this way, you can go through, and you can go out that way.
So Alex, I'm gonna let you know a little secret. And again, I'm not gonna stand in the way of a traffic study if the traffic study says it's good. Because I've stood behind them in other projects. So the right lane exit is really for the people that are going into Tim Hortons, pulling back out to get into town. Because I can assure you that people leaving that May Point area and going up, they're not swinging back into town.
Right.
The chances are they're going either Upton or they're going North River. So it's not going to stop the queuing on the straightaway.
Right.
All the right is going to do is allow the patrons to come in, get their coffee, either pull back out and go around and use that lane, or use the right in, right out on Hampton, which I think that needs to be fixed because anyone who is going in front of the car wash to exit into that has to watch people entering in to the Hampton, and that's dangerous. And I got clipped almost twice coming out of the car wash. So that's problematic. So again, I feel bad for the developer that they feel.
Well, it's up to, they were given.
I don't find it
decisions,
sarcastic.
But this was been looked at very, very closely. And again, do I want it to be that situation? No, but I have to rely on what they're offering. They didn't tell us to close this driveway in the traffic study, but we're indicating if you're that confident it's not going to create problems, then we want that condition. They're willing to agree to that.
So 2 days is significant. You mentioned it says if it happens significantly for 2 days.
Right.
Okay, is that the wording that we're using? So I'd like to know what the word significantly
Well, they kind of
implies.
questioned initially that we've been back and forth with them, and we said it's sort of at the discretion of the manager of Public Works as to whether he determines that it needs to be closed. Well, they've been reasonable, but they just said they don't mind him being the decision maker, but based upon quantitative analysis, either the cameras indicating backing up, and Scott, if he gets a complaint, or if the province calls and saying they're getting a complaint, the cameras go out, we look to see is that thing creating problems, and if we validate that after 2 consecutive days, there's nothing extraordinary in the area, they will be sent a letter to close it.
Okay, so now my next question is, if they close it and they move it down to the entrance down below,
Right.
you no longer have that queuing lane that runs that far back. So now you're going to have a queuing for people leaving Tim Hortons if they have to use the back entrance are not going to be able to enter into traffic, right? Because your right lane turn
Then we kick them into
starts
plan.
ahead of it.
Well, we kick them into Plan B because then they may have to do some reconfiguration in here to come in and get into the site because of the way that it was.
No, I get that, but when people exit back out, my point is if that's your entry point,
Right.
and your right lane only is just at the driveway almost that's currently there.
Right.
What happens then if that right lane is not an option back to the second option, which is
After you hit your car.
correct. Now you have a backlog of people.
I'll ask that. I'll ask that of Scott, Scott Adams, and we will. Scott will be there for the council meeting because again, I've been sort of Alan Aiken, Scott Adams. They've been working on that. All good questions.
Yeah, no,
Yeah. But This, if it gets closed, we'll have to get a new site plan indicating how they're going to, because the hotel isn't going to want people queuing out here either, right? Because they're going to want their traffic to free flow. So the site's going to have to be able to accommodate it, get it off the site, and then that right turn lane that's been created will likely be, to your point, it'll just be dedicated. Nobody can get into that other than from off of the site. But again, I'll ask that to Scott. This is a very good question.
So you can't come in that way.
I get it, but I'm saying it kind of almost eliminates or makes it very difficult for people, like you're saying, leaving May Point to get into that lane if it's primarily used for
People access.
Yeah, the issue,
right. But I think there's that potential for the
they'll likely create a
car crash trying to get in the lane.
They'll create a merge, possibly, again, but I'll ask the question. There'll be a merge lane, one merge lane, it'll be a right out of the site only.
Get that.
And the other can use that as well. So when you have a right out situation, it's always left turning movements to complicate things.
So it's a right lane out of the site only, or is it a right lane
Right
that's
out
going to,
everywhere.
or if it's going to be, if the current road right now is straight, is it going to be just attached and merged into that same road pulling out? Or is it going to be right out of the site onto?
It was my understanding that both if you're on May Point and you're going to town, you can take that right turning movement as well as out of the driveway.
Do you not see the concerns? So you have cars coming in and you have cars coming out, trying to access the same right out or right in to town. I just think that's going to add complications.
Yes, it is a part of a design.
I'm only applying common sense versus.
Right. But it's a part of a design that's, I mean, this is very small, and but I will certainly make sure that Scott is available for council when we deal with this. But it's all part of the design. Scott also has to sign off on the design. He's got to sign off on the standards. They can't sort of cheap Charlie this, but it's.
Is that going to be in your traffic master plan too?
No.
So there's lots. So again, you're asking it's for approval tonight, but I just think there's so many questions that need to be answered prior to voting on something. That's just my opinion, and I'm not saying I'm opposed to it. I'm just saying that there's lots of questions to be answered.
Right.
I need to understand how the traffic's on site. I sat there one morning just to watch myself, and I'm telling you right now, not a lot of people leave May Point are taking a right into town.
I think that's where you're going to need Scott to talk to council with those questions.
Right? I just don't see it. And I don't know, I mean, Basil, you're from the area as well. Not a lot of people come that way. They try to avoid that because they're scared of it. So they actually go down to North River Road and come out because they hate this intersection.
And they're going to hate it more.
It's not gonna.
Question around.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is most of the traffic going into Tim Hortons going to be coming in from North River? Or is it going to be mostly May Point Road traffic going in, making a right-hand turn? Or is it going to be traffic coming in, making a left-hand turn? I think that's what you were asking.
I think that this is going to be a desire line to come in off of the highway, because before you get to the Tim Hortons on the North River, if you can get in and out of there quickly, you're going to come in off the highway, you're going to come in, you're going to get into that, you're either going to go out this way, or then you're going to take that right slip lane out.
So the assessment of the traffic backup is going to be both incoming traffic from North River and possible backup on May Point Road?
Yeah, the one that's, I don't think they want it backing up anywhere, but if it backs up along May Point, it's not going to be as disruptive, but it's just the fact that this depth to sort of hang out there, there is no left turn pocket there. So cars that can't go by you that are coming in off of the highway and around, so they're going to start to queue, they're going to start to back up, and that is what they don't want to happen. And there's not enough road geometry there to put in that left turn pocket.
Again, this project, I don't think this project is going to have this huge negative impact on the residents of the area. This is not. This is really about safety and common sense. It has nothing to do with the lifestyle of the people who live in Orchard Hill and Lewis Point. Because they're not. Chances are they're not going out there to access that. So it's not going to.
But that was my question. Who's going to come to a public meeting on this traffic situation from that area?
There's no public meeting.
There is no, but they're just saying to pass it.
Yeah, this is
There's
just
just a pass, okay.
right. This is a technical issue that is sort of, we're using the best analysis that we and the most focus on any development we have. This has been reviewed a lot, so it's not like it.
Evidently not.
I think you're going to
Enough.
have a lot of traffic
Because I know now if you're coming down North River Road, coming to Tim Hortons, you go through the drive-through, then it's just miserable trying to get out of there if you're heading back out and want to go up the highway. So I think they're going to get a lot of traffic to this Tim Hortons, so it's going to cut through what May Point, go here, and then head Cornwall or wherever you're going west. So I think there's going to be a lot of traffic coming up North River, or May Point Road, trying to get in here, which then is going to impede the traffic coming from.
Yeah, good point. I never thought that people coming from May Point going in, that's going to have to
The only
merge out
issue is,
into it to get to North River.
That's right.
Yeah.
If you want to turn it down, that's your prerogative, but you're gonna have to get some really good reasons.
Well, I don't think we don't turn it down. I think it'd be great if we, this is me personal, I'd love to be able to defer it and have somebody, a representative from the company here to answer some questions that we have, because again, no one seems to have any answers to the questions I had, and that concerns me.
They do
So,
have somebody local working on this.
well, that's great. It would have been
Yeah.
nice if they were here to
They have a
answer
local
questions.
engineer that they did ask if they needed someone here this evening, and they should actually be here. Oh, they're representative, but if you folks have time later in the week, that's up to you folks. Maybe I can get their engineer in to explain. It's Tom Harlan that's working on that. I mean, I kind of apologize because I'm not a traffic engineer. I don't want to say anything that's here in regard to that geometry and that design, because it's really hidden, even in, it's all in here, how they plan it to work, but how it's all going to be signalized and marked on the street, that's all a part of that, but I can't throw that.
But I would like to have, that engineer here, but I'd also like to have Alan Aiken here from the province to.
Alan has will 100% indicate that this is up to the city to deal with.
Until it backs up into the roundabout,
Right, yeah,
then
but
they'll freak out.
but he does know that because of the conditions that there are ways to sort of deal with it. Yeah, Alan Aiken will not speak to this, pretty confident.
Is there liability issues?
I don't think there's liability issues. The fact is the city's done their due diligence. We've had 2 traffic reports on this from fairly high-hitting traffic engineers. There was a little bit of bump in the first one because of the analysis, but the analysis came from the province. So when they just, again, they did their math. It didn't show the level of the amount of traffic that was going by this particular property. But the first study did anticipate that if it was problematic that this right turn lane should happen, the second traffic report said make it happen now. And then we're not going to speculate that there's going to be problems. Let's anticipate that traffic.
So Alice, sorry everyone, I know this corner fairly well. So answer this question. I guess if someone's from May Point is going into Tim Hortons, they go through the drive-through, they circle back out around the pumps because they need to get to Cornwall. Because their only way to get back to Cornwall is by circling around the pumps, coming back out. All of a sudden now they have to cross the right turn lane and try to get into the straight lane to go to Cornwall, to North River, while you got cars coming in from North River that are trying to enter into that. That has the potential to cause even more of a backlog because you're crossing that merge lane into the lane you want. So if you even get into the merge lane with your signal light on, you're just going to sit there until someone lets you in, which is going to start the queuing on the right turn lane. Does that make sense?
You enter off of the hotel road, because then you're going to be before the turn lane.
But the traffic will be blocking everything. Nothing can turn in.
That's my fear. But if you
that's what's
back,
going to happen.
I would never turn left there when I used to work in Elliott River to go get coffee.
And I'm not here to defend this, but I'm just talking as a consumer.
I know.
If I go anywhere it is complicated, I'm not going back.
I get it. Yeah, it's just there's common sense.
And in particular,
This gets jammed.
this is all a pattern. People that get coffee, it's a pattern, right? You live in the area, it's on your way, and you have options all over town. But again, and that's why I think they're willing to spend some money on this, because it won't work. You don't have to be told 3 times that I'm not going to get killed to get coffee 3 times in a week. So if that scares people off, this whole arrangement, it's not going to work for the consumer. They're going to hit the one on North River. They're going to hit another one somewhere else. But if this one is problematic or makes them late or complicates them, I'm only assuming. But what's that old thing about assume? Don't do that.
All right.
I mean, it's encouraging to know that they're willing to spend that kind of money to try to
Well, and again, to my point, and they didn't mention it, but I think that the most significant thing is $150,000 isn't a small amount of money. Closing that, if you're a developer, is significant, because because when they're gonna sell that property, if they ever did, their primary access is gonna be through a right-of-way from somebody else's property, but it's better for us.
Excuse me.
But, okay. I was gonna say, again, if it does get closed and you move it back to that other
There's still
road,
gonna be congestion.
then you don't have that right access lane to at your disposal anymore until you actually get into the lane, so you're gonna have a backup of
But the
cars.
development
that-
agreement says that they're gonna have to work with the city to reconfigure this site to make it work. Once this is closed, all of this has to be reconfigured to make it work. That would be a part of it.
Well, that's great,
Yeah.
it's great we're saying that, but no one's here to explain or answer the
Right,
questions
sure.
that we have, so it's difficult to.
If you want to have a meeting on Thursday, or if you've got time, or Friday, I can see if I can arrange for Tom Harlan to come and speak to that. And, he is an engineer, and this is a very, you really have to know traffic engineering. I just read these reports and extrapolate, that's not as good as that's what you probably do.
All right, folks, sorry, I wasn't gonna say anything, but. Lots of questions. All right. So we have to put a motion, whatever the motion is, for council, so it's up to you folks where we want to go with this.
Could I just say something quick there?
Sure, yeah, go ahead, Councillor Duran.
We've been dealing with this for quite a while now, and the last time, whether it be 6 months or 8 months ago, this was something that they weren't going to do. So we didn't go ahead with it. Now they come back and they say they will do it, and we're still hesitant. So, I'm thinking let's go ahead. We're going to go with the traffic analysis of it, and if it doesn't work, then we'll change it. But something's got to change. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
Okay.
Was that a motion?
So are you putting a motion forward, Councillor Duran, to accept?
Sure.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor to
I'm
accept.
going to second that.
Okay. Seconded by Councillor McCabe. Yes, sir.
And I'm going to just throw this out to you folks, because I would like this. If you do decide to send it on to council, I would be willing to facilitate a WebEx, because council will have the final say on this, right? So that's, again, the break. If you want it Thursday or Friday at noon, I will see if I can facilitate a WebEx to have Tom Harlan speak to it and Scott Adams. Because again, I want people to be comfortable with this thing. I don't want them to say, Alex said it was great.
To give them the information from the experts.
That's right. And
Yeah.
so then if you, after you hear it, particularly the counselors, if you ask to send it on, and then you see the presentation, if you get concerns, you could speak to that at council. If that works for you, I'm just trying to help facilitate this thing.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor to accept and seconded by Councillor McCabe. Is there any further comments or questions or? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? Okay, opposed? Okay, motion is carried. All right, I think that is it for the night. Motion to adjourn.
So we not do the,
Next month, or?
It will be, it's my intention to bring, staff were prepared to
Yeah.
bring it back for this evening. There was more information provided by the residents. They were aware that with that new information, that they could either have it go tonight, or they could ask us to review more information. They've adopted to go with review more information, so it will be there in September.
Yep.
okay. Thank you. I missed that one.
Okay. All
I'll do
right,
a
motion to adjourn.
Just,
Okay, motion adjourned. You want to shut, yeah.